Wow, that's really bright. Well, that's a little better if I stand back here, but anyway, hey everybody, it's Tuesday, it's power session time. Make sure I've got some room here. So give everybody just a little bit to jump on here. Excited to be with you as always. For those of you watching this on replay, thanks for watching. Those of you on here live, welcome. Excited to have you on. This is an interactive power session. This is an opportunity for me to rattle your cage a little bit in terms of some of the philosophical framing that you may have around success and thought processes and why we do what we do. We are coming to you from our headquarters here with the Mandino Leadership Institute and Habit Finder, an opportunity to be able to teach you how to be able to bridge that gap between being able to see what you want and what you want to create, and why we can get so much closer to tasting it and touching it and even feeling it in our mind than we can create and sustain in our current reality. So excited for that. Thanks so much for jumping on already. Hey, Michael. Hey, Mom. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're jumping on. Looks like we've got quite a few people on here, so might as well dive into this right now. And that always starts with one thing, and that is we're live. So anyway, for those of you who've never heard that before, you can go back and watch my lives. It was pointed out to me by one of my clients and dear friends who made it really clear that I just seem to happen to do that every time at the beginning of lives. In fact, she made an entire highlight medley video of We're Live, which if you post here in the comments, I don't mind. It's rather hilarious. So anyway, so that turned into my trademark. So anyway, enough with killing time and kind of giving everybody a chance to jump on here. Every Tuesday at noon right here, this is where the power session happens. This is an opportunity, like I said, for me to I want to disrupt some of your philosophical programming. We've had the opportunity to measure scientifically through mathematical proof of the way people think in over 100,000 business leaders and entrepreneurs. It's given us some amazing data, not anecdotal feeling our way through, no, actual concrete data in the way the entrepreneurial mind works. Let's make sure I'm keeping up here with comments. Go ahead and rant. Thanks, Joyce. I appreciate that. Can't wait for the rant. We'll see. It was just a possible rant alert, like a winter storm warning. It may not necessarily happen, but this is a subject that I can get pretty fired up about because it's something that I've battled on both sides in terms of feeling like I needed to defend sales and feeling like it's just, it's a lost cause and no one should try to sell ever again and whatever in terms of some experiences. So if I lean in here and scroll down, it's because I want to make sure. Oh, no, I didn't see your post yesterday, Miriam. I'm going to have to check that out. So, which I totally will. But I mean, sounds like great minds think alike. So that's super awesome. So for those of you jumping on here, again, this is the Habit Finder page. Please like, share, yada, yada, yada. If you haven't already, go to habitfinder.com and take the assessment. That is the technology that's allowed us to be able to hone in on the thought processes of over 100,000 business leaders and entrepreneurs. That's why when I'm talking to you on here, it's not just because it feels like it, because I feel like it, or because this could be it. It's because this is data we've tracked. And there are nuances to things that I share. There are tips and subtleties to what we'll talk about on here that are all tying into the way that you think as an entrepreneur. So if you come to these, please don't come to these with your arms crossed. Please don't come to these thinking that, oh, this Paul guy is full of himself and just is just ranting and raving. That may be true, but it doesn't mean there isn't nuggets that you could get from what we have to share and what we've learned by studying the scientifically measured thought processes of people for the last 18 years, 19 years plus now. So super excited to have you on board. Now we do offer other things, coaching, different things. And I actually got asked quite a few times the last several weeks, like, why do you do the power sessions? Why would people ever pay for coaching if they get to attend the power sessions? Well, that's exactly why people pay for coaching, because we do the power sessions. Because there is a natural instinct that if we're willing to provide this much for free, and I'll make very clear, there's no shadow games here. I'm here disrupting your philosophical framing. The greatest value that I can add as a coach, though, is the implementation of what we're disrupting here on the power sessions. And it is very difficult to implement one-to-many, especially when I can't see you. I can't feel your inflection. I can't understand your body language. I can't connect with where you're at. I can do that very well in a small group. I can do that even better one-on-one. My coaches can do that really well in a group, can do that one-on-one. But if I don't take the opportunity to set the foundation of disrupting your philosophical framing, then we're going to have to waste time doing that when we're actually coaching, when that's when we want to get into implementation. So a lot of people have received tremendous benefit from these power sessions, and we'll continue to do them. And they'll continue to be free. And I'll continue to get asked like, oh my gosh, that's so much value. You're giving people so much instruction. Why would you do that? How are you going to get people to sign up for coaching? Well, plain and simple. Do you want to be abundant or not? And that's a great question to consider for your own life, not just in my strategy with my company, but for you. Do you want to be abundant or not? Because you don't get to pick and choose abundance like a buffet. Well, I'll be abundant here, but I'm not, hold that. And okay, I want some of that, but I only want half of this. It's not how abundance works. Abundance is a wavelength. It's a commitment. It's an openness, an energy to invite as much into your life as you are pouring out into other people's lives. And that's not something that you get to pick and choose and custom tailor fit to the conveniences of your life. You're either abundant or you're not, which is a great principle to lead us into what we're talking about today, which is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, okay? And that is the topic of sales. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, today we're talking about sales. Now, there are a lot of people that have different ideas of what sales is, and we'll get into all that, but I want to smack you in the face right up front, just in case you don't have the attention span to stay on for this entire session. I want you to get the gist right up front, and it is this. The fact of the matter is, we've been working with over 100,000 people, and 100% of the time, when someone is not good at sales, and usually goes with that, they don't like sales, it is because they are selfish. Period. 100% of the time, when people are not good at sales, and usually goes with it an attitude that they don't like sales, it is because they are selfish. Period. End of story. You can argue with me all day long about this. It's all going to come back to the same place. Okay? Here's a little thing to give you some context. Let's take this a little bit deeper. Okay? Sales minus connection is stupid. Okay? That's your first equation. Let me move this over. Other direction. There we go. Okay. Sales minus connection equals stupid. Got it? So most people will agree with me on that. But where they get a little defensive, and if this is you feeling defensive, this is the live you want to pay attention to. This is the power session you want to pay close attention to, because we're disrupting some philosophical framing, and that is that connection minus sales is selfish. Period. Anyone who tries to sell without connection is stupid. And that's usually where our idea of sales and bad experiences, and I'm not selling, I'm sharing, whatever, okay? That's such a waste of time. When we want to understand what sales really is, we also need to understand that connection without selling, okay, and we'll define what that means in just a second, is selfish. Because here's what these people that don't understand this part of the equation, most people go, oh yeah, totally. If you're not connecting with someone, yeah, that's stupid. But people are going, well, yeah, I don't like sales and I don't like selling people stuff, but I'm not selfish. Well, here, let me give you an example. Because the people that have a hard time with this equation tell me things like this. I don't want to have them feel pushed. I don't want to sound salesy. And I did a power session before, a Facebook Live at least, on What's the Point Wednesday with sales, about how we sacrifice the opportunity to change people's lives because of one letter, sales versus salesy. I don't want to offend them. Okay, we could make a giant list here They go all the way down, all the way up. But guess what they all start with? Boom. They all start with I, which is the context, which is the reference to self. In other words, being selfish. I don't want. I don't want to. I hope they don't. I wonder if. They are all starting with I. When we start to get into our own head, okay, and I got to stay on top of the comment. Okay, good. Totally open to anyone opposing me on this. I'm not going to say I don't need to be right about this, because this is obviously something I get fired up about, which naturally allows this idea to get molecularly attached in my body, and the physiological response is needing to be right. Any of you that just went, you're going to want to coach with us, because it's one of the number one challenges in connection. It's the number one cause of divorce, which will be one of my power sessions in the near future, is the need to be right. So I understand that I'm at risk of needing to be right about this because I feel so strongly about it. However, what I want to be ultimately sensitive to is not you feeling like you need to be wrong. Okay, my motive here is not for you to feel wrong because you haven't liked sales, so that means you're selfish. I don't want you to feel bad about that. Okay, I don't want you to go, oh my gosh, he's right, I am so selfish, and just give up and give in to, well, I guess that's just the way that it's going to be. Okay, it's an opportunity to rattle your philosophical framing, because somewhere along the way, the framing for sales for you got put into a negative space. It got put into a used car experience, or it got put into people who wouldn't leave you alone about their home-based opportunity. And suddenly you started thinking about it in terms of how they would interpret you, which is not sales. That's not sales. That's trying to transact, because that's what this is. This is sales minus connection is a transaction. And a transaction without connection or transformation is stupid. Connection minus adding value. That's what this is. That's what sales is. Sales is, okay, this is getting a little messy. So let me hit a reset button real quick, just so I don't lose anybody. This is the risk of the rant, is I start getting messy and layered as people start screaming safe words and getting me to settle down a little bit. So, okay. So with this, here's what I'm saying, okay? Now, in terms of sales, sales is an exchange of value. An exchange, meaning I have value, you have value, I'd like to trade that value. This is one of the necessary, this is the absolute requirement for connection. Because what is connection? Connection is our ability to find their value, to find your value. I can't find your value if I don't connect. And if I find value in you, and I have value to offer you, and I don't offer that to you, that is me turning my back on the value I found in you. Does this make sense? Okay? I want to make sure this is really hitting home for people. Because we're all about connecting. We're all about caring. We're all about wanting to help people change their lives. But as soon as the sale starts coming into conversation, all that's happening is we were making it all about them. Okay? We were doing a really good job of not being selfish. All of our energy was focused on them. All of our questions were focused on them. All of our exploration was focused on them. But then as soon as we get a solution, as soon as we have something of value we could exchange, suddenly all the focus goes to us. We start getting in our head. We start hearing our noise. What if they think the only reason I was talking to them was to sell them what I have? Who cares? Is what you have valuable? It is or it isn't. So if it is, trust that if you made it about them up to that point, which means your agenda was over here on the bench, by the way, okay? You might show up to a lunch with an agenda to talk to someone about your business or to recruit them into doing something or hopefully sell them something. That may be your agenda, but if you sit down with that and you lead with that and you allow it to totally dominate the conversation, then you never did this. You never made it about them. You had sales minus connection, so all you were able to achieve, if you were able to achieve anything, was a transaction or a declined transaction, and you missed connection. And eventually, through the exchange of value, you missed transformation. So a lot of what I'm talking about does depend on the fact that you will want to understand your framework, your mental and especially your emotional connection to sales. Okay? What does sales mean to you? Because to me, and what I understand about the core of where it came from, why it was introduced, and the fact that it permeates just about every relationship in your life in one way or another, is that sales is the highest form of connection. The highest form of connection is sales. Now, what happened? What happened over the years? Well, what happened over the years is people started, where did I put the eraser? Here we go. What happened over the years is people started to understand that when sales were done properly, that a transaction would occur in exchange of value. I have something that I think can serve you. You have something that will serve me. Often that's product and money. You have compensation for me that I would like to exchange in a transaction, an exchange of value. And what happened is they went and focused on, okay, here's the transaction. How do we quantify, manipulate, and create a recipe for getting to that transaction so that the value being exchanged didn't matter. It didn't matter if you had something of value, just mattered whether you could get someone to exchange with you. That's what happened. That's where we got off track. And so we started realizing, okay, we need to connect with people. We could fake that. We could pre-close them. We could NLP manipulate them. Now, please don't think that I think NLP is a bad thing, but I've seen it taught in sales as a leverage to make the value you have void, meaning you could still reach a transaction regardless of the value that you have to provide. And so we start replacing all these different things for connection, okay? And then in terms of the sale, then it just becomes about convincing and leveraging and scaring people into a transaction. It was polluted. The purest form of connection in the world, sales, something that actually got us NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, N as in Nancy, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is understanding the impact of body language and nuance and inflection and getting you to neurologically attach to certain things that I'm saying. So if I want you to connect to something positively, I will reference me when I'm talking about something positively. I'll put my hands over my heart so you connect to that. When I want you to connect to something negatively, I'll have motions out there and something out there. I don't do this at a really high level. So don't start paying attention to my hand movements and think that I'm trying to NLP you, okay? But there's some really powerful things in any of these things. In pre-closing and NLP and convincing, leveraging, and even in fear, not necessarily in scaring someone, which is the leverage and manipulation of fear. It is the intentional application of fear. In sales, you never intentionally apply fear. You expose it. You expose fear, you expose pain. But what happened is, in order to get a transaction regardless of value, you had to manipulate it. And so what happened through this poison and this pollution of what sales really is we got an opportunity to relate sales to manipulation. We related sales negatively to pain, and we related sales negatively to fear. So we suddenly believed, wow, I don't like sales because if I sell, I manipulate people, I cause them pain, I make them afraid just to get a transaction. That's what's happened over time. We can sit here and go, yeah, that's definitely a reason to bail on sales. Oh, hell no. It is the highest form of connection. This is the greatest thing to connect us with the rest of the world, with our spouse, with our kids, with our business partners. To be able to say, we are exchanging value. I am stepping into your world to connect with you, to be able to provide value to you so that you can provide value back. And we both benefit. We connect even deeper. We watch out for each other more. We care more. Sales is fantastic. It's amazing. It's something we need more of this in this life. Right now, people are trying to sell their political opinion. See it everywhere in the news. Sell their opinion of politics or legislature, all kinds of stuff. Now, I never talk about that on here, so please, I'm not going to. But I'm talking about the principle of selling you that. But the challenge is they're manipulating you, they're causing pain and causing you to fear their opinion or fear your own. They're selling you that the way that sales was manipulated. Imagine if we sold each other's political opinions the way we're supposed to, which we just went through a second ago, and I will remind you because we can't go through it too many times. Imagine if politically, just because that's one of the most supercharged things right now, we're sold appropriately, okay? Meaning, I'm aware of my agenda, okay, aka my opinion, my belief, my perspective, so on and so on. I'm aware of this. But in order to sell you anything, the first step is to connect. So this gets separated. This is on the bench. This doesn't get invited to the party yet. And we step in and we connect, which, as we talked about last week, means we're going to listen and we're going to find good. Ooh! Can you imagine if our first step to sharing political perspective was to find good in the other person's perspective? Just imagine for me right now what you hear on social media politically and what you hear on social media and news outlets and in conversations at Thanksgiving dinner that lead to never coming back to Thanksgiving dinner ever again. If the first requirement for you to sell me on your opinion was to find good in mine, that alone changes the game. So why wouldn't we want to resurrect and rehabilitate sales? And we could use tons of other examples in our life. So, but staying on the political one. So my first objective is to connect with you, which means my agenda is over here. It can scream and yell all it's want, but I've got it in a soundproof case because I know that if I let it out prematurely, I will ruin the sale the way it is supposed to happen. But if I listen and find good and I make it about you, okay? If I make it about you and step into your world and connect with you, then I can make a decision about the sale. I can make a decision, a clear, conscious decision about whether what I have to share is of value, but not just of value in general. Is it of value to you? Is my opinion of value to you? We're sharing too many opinions that are valuable to us and forcing them on people, assuming that it's valuable to them, and they're never going to be able to receive them, even if they are valuable to them, because your agenda is polluting the whole friggin' thing. So if we'll just step back and take a breath and connect with someone to listen and find good in them and you, then I have the opportunity to make a conscious decision, okay? We'll draw a little light bulb here. To make a conscious and aware decision as to whether I have something of value, whether the timing is right, and how to deliver it. Whether it is of value, not in general, but whether it is value to you, which now I have the right to make that call because I've stepped into your world. Before then, all I was trying to do was throw up on you or manipulate you and use pain and fear and all kinds of other things to be able to do that. But imagine if we embrace sales in every area of our life, not just in our business, and our first priority was to connect and then to sell, to create a sale, which comes from asking ourselves, is what I have of value to this person? That's only step one. Step two is now the right time. Is now the right time? And step three is, how should I deliver that? Based on what you have shared with me. But if you're not asking questions, empathetic questions, if you're not finding good, if you're not actually listening, and not just listening for things that confirm the value, remember, that's determined after you connect and you invite your agenda to be analyzed. So we set our agenda on the bench and we connected. This happened completely isolated of everything else. So we connected, we listened, really listened, which even people who claim to be great listeners come and work with us. Major executives of huge companies, hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs who came to us in events and workshops and coaching who felt like they were great listeners. And then we gave them one simple challenge. And they went, wow, I guess I don't listen as well as I thought. It takes just one little challenge that we'll take an audience through when we speak or a client through when we coach to have them kind of wake up to the realization that one of the reasons, and I ask this all the time, I was a competitive powerlifter for a number of years, and I ask people, squat, bench, deadlift, which one's the most dangerous? The answer is it's the one you think you're the best at. And so understanding that the natural instinct is whatever we feel like we're good at, we're naturally losing the awareness and the consciousness to keep getting better at it. Because what our brain goes is, oh, you're already good at that. Let's put our energy into other things. And then it becomes less and less. And so what we want to start being able to pay attention to is, if you think you're a good listener, then pay even closer attention to what I'm talking about. If you don't think you're a good listener, then you're in a great space to humbly move forward and own your opportunity to be a great listener by simply leaving the noise, because this isn't just your agenda. This is your unhealthy habits of thinking as well. All those I don't wants. Okay, I don't want them to, I hope they don't, blah, 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 all this noise that when you mix that up with your agenda is a really nice cocktail for never getting anywhere in life, okay? And so what we do is we connect, we listen, we find good, we actually find out who this person is. And then we ask these questions based on what we've discovered, not on the assumptions we had going in. Not the assumptions that everybody who believes this politically is an idiot and stupid and hates this kind of race and da-da-da-da-da, and all these dumb, contemptuous accusations that we're making. But we all want the same thing. We all want to sell someone on our ideas. We all want to sell someone on what we believe. We all want to sell something that could benefit us if they were to accept it. Whether it's a product, a service, or an idea, or a belief, or an opinion, or anything. We all want the result of sales, and yet so many of us resist it. Let's rally behind this. Let's rehabilitate sales for what it really is, as the highest level of connection. To be able to listen, find good, and then ask ourselves, is what I have of value to this person? And is it the right time? And then we're in a position to receive inspiration. Bing! Inspiration as to how to deliver it, rather than continue to force feed it and get it thrown up back on us over and over and over again. Just assuming that they're bigoted or ignorant or anything else that we use to rationalize why our manipulation of their fear and pain didn't pay off for us. Let's step away from this stuff. In our businesses, let's embrace this. To not play small anymore. To not be worried about how we're going to be received when we're declaring something we believe in that could help people. Declare it loud and clear, but don't do it from a place of contempt. That's all you have to worry about. But be proud of what you represent. Be proud of what you can do. Just start being sensitive to having it be a declaration, not an accusation, not an indictment, but a declaration. And you're going to do this. Here's one of the greatest challenges with a lot of this, okay? And then I'll come to Larry's question. I saw someone say, great question, and then I saw your question. This is going to happen. You'll connect with people. You'll you'll find the freedom of living out loud what you believe. And you'll find how good it feels to live out loud unapologetically. And a lot of the energy that created contempt gets released. However, as you do so, okay, I was watching Man in the High Castle this morning on the treadmill. And one of them says, wherever there is power, there is subversion. Period. Wherever there is power, there is subversion. So as you step into your power, as you live and own what you have the opportunity to sell, and trust that when the opportunity comes to connect, you can set it aside and connect, and then unapologetically consider whether it's a value to them. And some of you have stuff that's valuable to most people, and that's awesome. Congratulations. Okay. Whether it's the right time, though, might be the more difficult question, and how to share it is something you're going to want to be inspired about based on what you actually listen to. But if you're trying to figure out how to share it before you've actually listened to someone, you are putting wood, you're looking at the stove and saying, start a fire and I'll give you wood. We've all heard that, right? It's the cart before the horse kind of mentality. If you are trying to force any of this, then we're polluting this beautiful high-level connection that is sales. Now, Larry asked a question, said, how do we help folks that have been polluted for so long? How do we get through their clogged filter? Great question. And my first answer is sell them on sales. So how do you do that? It's right here. You've got your agenda to sell them on sales, okay, to help clear the pollution. First thing we've got to do, put the curtain up and show up. Not to sell them on sales. That's something we'd like to do if it would be of value to sell them on sales, and if it would be the right time, and then to find the inspiration to do it. The first thing we're going to do is connect. We're going to connect with them. We're going to listen to them. We're going to find good in where they're currently at. We're going to ask more questions from what we're actually listening to, rather than getting these triggers of, oh, that made me think of something. And so we end up saying it the next time they take a breath. Or we end up sitting there trying to remember what we wanted to say as soon as they take their next breath, and we're not even listening to what else they have to say at that point. So we're going to connect, we're going to really listen, we're going to really find good, and we're going to make it about them. And we may find out, even though clearing this pollution in theory can be really valuable, it's not to them right now. They have more important things that you might be able to add value to that you heard by listening to them. And if you heard things that were more important to them that you have value to offer, and you try to leapfrog that value with a sale, thinking you'll give that to them later, you're not honoring the highest level of connection that there is. It's really interesting. It's really connecting to someone's actual needs. And so we connect with them. And then once we've had an opportunity to understand them, what we're selling them on sales, the most important part of this here, should you choose to engage after you've connected with them to try and help clear the pollution like you're asking, Larry, the most important part is the how. How can you meet them where they are, which is the finding good in what they currently think, and be able to help them understand what they really want, to be able to understand what they want to create, and then work backwards from there to help connect the dots. And then when you get to the very end, it's, ta-da, that's sales. And I go, no, it's not. Sales is manipulation and fear and whatever, and they'll say it in different ways. And then we go right back into connection. Tell me more about that. Because maybe there's a rock we didn't uncover. Maybe there's something about them we didn't hear. We don't overcome objections. We don't force things. We connect to and intrinsically validate and consciously evaluate to be able to exchange value. And what's the exchange of helping clear the pollution to you of their sales? Well, likely you're talking to them as someone that if they sold more, it would benefit you. Great. You've established an exchange of value. Nothing to be ashamed of there. Just be aware of it as you go in so that you don't try to pretend that that's not part of the game. Well, what if they think, Paul, that the only reason I'm talking to them is to sell it? Well, is it? Is it the only reason? Because we're taught that if it's one of the reasons, that somehow we have to feel it's the only reason. That's why when if I was talking to someone about coaching and say, are you just talking to me about this so that I sign up for coaching? No, but that's one of the reasons. Absolutely one of the reasons we're talking right now. But it's not just the reason. It's not only the reason. Own that. Be proud of that. Trust that you can want them to buy from you, to exchange value with you, that you can want that for the monetary benefit and for the benefit you're providing to them. That comes from connecting with yourself, okay? Which is what we learn when we connect with other people. We learn more about ourselves from other people than anyone else. When we really listen to others, it's amazing what you'll hear from yourself. When we really find good in others, it's amazing the good you will find in yourself. Yeah, true point, Rosanna. Pay attention to what you say out loud. Oftentimes it's something you're wanting to be true. I'm a humble guy. Well, I hear that from people and I go, okay, so check, not humble. Got it. I'm a good listener. Okay. Nope. So pay close attention to that. Here's another tough one for some people to swallow along this line. I tell it like it is. Nope, you don't. Sorry. If you think you're a tell it like it is person, you don't tell it like it is. You tell it like you think it is. And because you're so proud of that, the way you think it is usually very narrow, very assuming, very frustrating, and very ignorant. Just like I want people to tell me like it is. Well, that's usually people who would like that in theory, but aren't prepared to receive it. Some interesting pieces that you bring up, Rosanna, in terms of what we declare in that arena. Question to ask yourself, do you truly believe that what you have is of value? Critical to make that commitment. Important, Miriam, and for anyone else in this space, understand that through your human challenges, the fact, our own humanity, that the reason we make a decision that what we have is of value is so that when we get out on there on the battlefield and all of our instincts are having us question that and wondering that, to be able to rationalize our desire to run away and not play big, the decision needs to be made in a quiet space. Just like boundaries in your life need to be made in a quiet space. Because if we're trying to paint lines on the field in the middle of the Super Bowl, it's not going to go over very well. Well, what yard line are they on? I don't know. I haven't painted that one yet. Let's do that really quick. Well, they would never play the game that way. Why would you play the game of life that way? And so understand that your commitment to believing that what you have is of true value is going to be just as much as remembering that you knew it did yesterday. So why would it be different today? And trusting that and remembering that as it is with the original commitment, to really get clear about that. Too often I see people have that clear moment and they just know. And it's oftentimes when they had a successful connection and a successful exchange of value, they feel amazing. But then the next time it doesn't go so well, suddenly who suffers? Whether what I have is of real value. Well, if it was true yesterday, it's true today. So make the decision, make the commitment, and then understand you're going to feel very differently when you're in the face of the enemy. It's like Mike Tyson talked about. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Understanding why, connect authentically. Awesome. We are selling things in life like why our kids need to wear their coats when it's sub-zero. Totally. Mutually beneficial value isn't decreased because both benefit. Oh, such a powerful point, which make sure you take this in, not just intellectually, and notice when your instincts want to go against this belief that value being exchanged, just because you benefit doesn't mean the value you have to provide is decreased. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not, I want to provide you with 10 points of value, but because I'm getting 5 points back from you, I'm only providing 5 points of value. No, you're still providing 5 points of value. Okay, the numbers are arbitrary if you got lost with that example. Okay, if I'm providing you this much value, but I'm getting this much in return, it does not diminish the value I am providing to you. Keep that in mind. And oftentimes it's harder for us to receive value back. So there are a lot of times in life where we'll provide this much value and we'll get this much back. Recognize it, own it, celebrate it. How many of us have given this much value to someone and we got this much monetary, but we got even more in other areas The only problem is then we start going, oh, I just need to focus on those other areas and not worry about the money. Well, yeah, don't worry about money. As I've said many times, worry comes from a German word, würgen, which means to strangle. So don't strangle yourself. Don't worry about stuff. But you should embrace it. You should welcome it, because it's not either or. Definitely keep that in mind. Yep, that's part of the reason, not the only reason. Quiet space, yes. The quiet spaces are when we determine our boundaries and our commitments and our decisions. Where they're tested is when we get out there and apply them. That's why I was always taught that one of the most powerful words in the scriptures was the word remember. Because it's remembering the commitment we already made, remembering the decision we made, and not slipping back into that renegotiation, that relitigation with ourselves. Which, if we're making a commitment to go into battle and to fight courageously for what we believe in, and we allow that relitigation and renegotiation to slip back in when we're in front of the enemy, okay, bad idea. That's not the place to make that commitment, that decision. That is when it is tested. And that test is the one that we all seek to pass, because that's where we reach our higher levels of potential. That's where we create greater levels of success. So imagine what life would be like if we all started embracing true sales, the highest form of connection that there is. Now, if any of you aren't sure about how to really listen and how to find good, we know the thought processes that get in your way of doing that. I don't have time to go through each of them for all of you individually in a power session. So if you're resonating with this, if you're connecting with this, and you want to learn how to really connect so that you can truly sell, you can truly exchange value from a more conscious level. If you're finding your unhealthy thoughts getting blended in with your agenda and just creating an icky feeling that you can't wash off, and it's making it difficult for you to hold people accountable to the value and the timing and the how that you are inspired to provide, because what you do, you've committed to, is of real value, and you're wanting to connect, then you may want to consider diving into group coaching or one-on-one coaching, or being able to get familiar with our material, get into some of the books, whatever you can do at this level. If you haven't taken the Habit Finder, take it. If you haven't reviewed it with one of my Habit Finder specialists, set an appointment with them. We're going to want to figure out what's under the surface of all this. Because if you're resonating with this and you go out and try and implement this and it doesn't click, it doesn't seem to go from the theoretical idea of this power session to the application, then let us know. We'd be happy to take it deeper for you in implementation. If you're able to grab onto this and it's able to make an impact this week and in the future, awesome. And you get to the point where you're using that, gets you to the next level to go even deeper, then that's a great time to hit us up as well. That's why we do these power sessions for free. Because I know there's enough people on here that are going to get tremendous value from this and are in a position to be able to apply it, that they'll know when they're ready for the next level. They'll come looking to us when they're ready to hire a coach. Myself, I have three coaches that I pay a lot of money to help me in different areas of my life. I am a product of the product. It was a law that was built into my head at a very young age, that the better you become, the more help you're going to want to have. The better you will become, the more help you're going to want to have from people who have the capacity to provide the help you're looking for. And it's not a one size fits all. Okay. I don't go to my mindset coach for fitness advice. Just like I don't go to my fitness coach for mindset advice. There's some blend across that, just because mindset's a pretty ambiguous term, but you get what I mean. I don't go to my business coach for fitness advice. He might have some cool tips, but I'm not paying him for that. Okay. And so on with relationships and other things and other areas. Just like I don't go to my fitness coach for financial advice. Okay. It's no offense to who those coaches are and how they serve me. But you look at, like, for example, and this is the way it was taught to me, you look at professional athletes, the more elite they become, the more of a support team they have around them to be able to hone in those skills, to be able to show up as the best version of themselves more often and to stay there longer. So, and we know that the most important place to start is with your thoughts. That's as far upstream as you can get. If you want to tackle your finances, start with your thoughts. If you want to tackle your relationships, start with your thoughts. If you want to improve your business, start with your thoughts. that we love the fact that we are a foundational company, that there will be specific coaches who may be able to share even greater counsel for you in your business or other things. But if it's not built on a foundation of your thinking habits as it applies to those things, it's going to be tough to sustain. Kim asks, so when we deny what we want to exchange value and buy into the idea that we just want to give value, often for the reasons you mentioned earlier, maybe fear about what others will think, where does this come from? Why would we make the other person work harder for us to offer the value in exchange? Is that a reflection that others people's opinions of you is more personal value than the monetary value you would receive? Ooh, powerful consideration. If you haven't gotten a chance, just take in what Kim is exploring. I get that you're asking a question of me, Kim, but I can also feel that you're exploring this proactively as you're sharing it. This is a really well constructed consideration. I can just feel that it's not like, well, what about this? It's like I feel very involved in what you're asking about. It's awesome. I almost don't even want to answer anything specifically from it, because just considering what you just posed could make an impact on rattling some people's philosophical framing that are on here. But really considering, are you looking for an exchange of value, or you're trying to play it safe? Because usually play it safe comes out in the end as, well, I just want to serve them. It's not about me. Well, that's great, but we know that the law of you, the best way to serve others is to serve you, and the best way to serve you is to serve others. It's a reciprocation. You don't get to cut the tail off of it. Otherwise, it loses its energy. It loses its momentum. It loses its abundance. If it's just give. Because A, you're not going to recognize what's coming back to you naturally anyway. And B, oftentimes the value you receive is a reflection on the lack of value you have for yourself. And you've compensated for it for so long. I'm not saying you, Kim, I'm just saying in terms of people exploring this, compensated for it for so long that we've come up with all the rationalizations in the world to pack on top of what's truly happening here. That you've got unhealthy habits of thinking that are being blended in with an agenda that you're presenting prematurely, not connecting, listening to respond, not finding good, forcing your opinion, then feeling weird about it or feeling like you need to double down and being even more aggressive about it. Either way, not turning out well. If you do end up getting a sale, it's going to require a whole lot of damage control. You're going to have to save them and recommit them constantly. Now, that's part of being human, so you never get to avoid that altogether. But trust me, so many people are magnifying that challenge by not just being proud. You don't need to walk around and say, I'm proud to sell. But you're going to want to understand that intrinsically inside to embrace the exchange, to embrace the fact that you do have something of value. And in fact, when value is received, this is critical. When value is received for the value offered, the value that you offered them becomes that much more valuable. When you receive value for the value you offer, the value that you offered becomes more valuable automatically. Okay? If I was to dive into people one-on-one for free in coaching, which goes far deeper than these power sessions ever can. These are I call them power sessions for a reason. Okay? You see the people that are watching and the people that are implementing, the people that are getting value from this. But again, coaching goes exponentially deeper. And if I wasn't charging $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 to coach with me, okay, then I would be denying added value to what I'm offering. It goes back to the principle that if having skin in the game, it's not about having skin in the game. It's about having an actual representation of the value you're receiving. I'm giving this to you, oftentimes monetary value, and it's adding that much value to what you're wanting to receive. You are putting a down payment on how aware you will be of how valuable what you just received is. Why would you ever deny someone from being able to do that? Serve, yes. Show up, yes. When it comes time to actually exchange value, when you've done this, okay, when you've connected, because I feel connected to you guys, but I'm not able to listen to you all and find good in what you're doing at the level that I can if we're talking one-on-one. And if I've done that and I deny you the opportunity to value what I have as much as I do, which means we're going to exchange, then I'm robbing you of getting as much out of it as you could. Okay. Woo! Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you got an opportunity to, even if you disagreed with 99% of what I said, I hope it at least gave you an opportunity to challenge some of your framing. Something I do every day. This is the more I study the habit finder, the more I work with clients, the more I challenge my own thinking. It's one of the exchanges of value. I offer coaching. I exchange that for monetary value, but I also offer things in between coaching and preparation and all kinds of things on top of that, which also gets turned back into the value that I get to receive by what I get out of coaching that person, and just goes on and on and on and on. Why would you ever cut off that reciprocal exchange of value, which is sales, which is connection in its highest form? Okay. All right. Thank you, Joyce. Thanks, Kim. Christal, Marilyn. Thanks, everybody, for being here. My hair is on fire. Awesome, Rita. Okay. Take it in. Rita, for example, is getting the opportunity to take this even deeper. She's made an investment and comes here to be able to challenge the philosophical framing. And I'm watching her challenge it on an even deeper level in our groups. And it's super fun to watch. I hope you don't mind me sharing that, Rita. If you do, too late. But I know you well enough to not be too worried about it. But it's really cool because she's coming here to rattle some framing, not take things for granted. But also we're able to dive deeper specifically for her in how to do the subtext and how to be able to apply and other things. So, all right. Thank you all. Love you. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you. Value delivered. Already from some of your comments, value received, and that reciprocation will continue. That's why we do this. And it'll be different with all of us. So don't deny the opportunity to connect at the highest level. Don't deny the opportunity to sell for what you can provide, what you can receive, what you can then provide from what you received, and then what you'll receive because you continue to provide because you are living an abundant life. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day.